Well, it was 0-0 at Old Trafford, and we were treated to yet another 0-0, Stevie Nicol, in this episode of Chelsea up against Manchester United. I was tempted to ask if you were still awake there in the second half, because it did start with some instances. We'll get to it in a second, but which team will be happier with this one? Do we start with Manchester United, considering a point on the road isn't bad, but then you kind of look at what happened to Leicester earlier on today. They might have wanted to put some more distance between them, wouldn't they?
Well, I think in an ideal world, yes. But the truth is, a point apiece isn't that bad a result for either team. It just gives Chelsea more points. It means Chelsea are still undefeated under Tuchel. And of course, Manchester United still undefeated away from home after 20 games, I think it is. So it's another point to the total. So I don't think either manager will be completely disappointed. Probably Tuchel would be the most disappointed of the two, considering they did have a lot of the ball, but they again didn't really produce anything. David De Gea did make a fantastic save from Ziyech, but that was it. I mean, that was the only chance they made where you're saying they should have scored here. United, on the other hand, again, nothing going forward. Resolute defending, didn't give an awful lot away. And so, again, away from home, United are undefeated. So, in some ways, both managers I'll be happy. But if I was to choose one that will be disappointed more, it would be Tuchel.
Resolute defending. I know that you're a massive fan of that, Stevie. Let's talk about probably the only incident really that happened in the match that was worth talking about, and that was the shout for a penalty. Should it have been a penalty? Was that a handball in your eyes? What do you think?
Well, I'll start off by saying I don't know what a penalty is and isn't these days, because had this been given, I wouldn't have been surprised. Mm-hmm. The fact is, his hands in an unnatural position. And it hits the ball. So had it been given, I don't think I would have been arguing too much. However, personally, I don't believe a penalty should be given for that. And again, why I said I don't know what is and isn't is because I wouldn't have given it. But as far as the rules are concerned, then it's kind of open for referees to interpret pretty much the way they want. And so it could have gone the other way. It could have been a penalty, but thankfully, it wasn't.
It wasn't indeed in that one. Let's talk about Bruno Fernandes quickly on this one, because once again, we're seeing Manchester United, I suppose we could say, struggling against the top 6 teams or not being able to find that breakthrough. And Bruno Fernandes as well just didn't have his usual sparkle in this one as well. So what's going on there, and what more is needed to get these breakthroughs against the top 6 teams?
Well, I think something has to come from elsewhere, to be honest. We basically all look at Manchester United and we talk about 2 players, as Bruno Fernandes and Marcus Rashford. And so they can't always do it on their own. And when you're playing against the better sides, there are fewer opportunities. So somebody else is going to have to step up. And right now, United are showing that, listen, they're getting results against the top teams, but they're not dominating, they're not creating, they're not scoring. And so other players have to step up. It can be Rashford and Fernandes all the time. And right now in the big games, when they don't do it, nobody else does.
Well, they probably would have liked to have some of the experience or the finishing of Edison Cavani. Unfortunately, he wasn't available for this one. They also missed Paul Pogba. But let's talk about Chelsea as well. I suppose if Chelsea had slipped up and lost to Manchester United in this one, we may have been easier to forgive them, considering we're still trying to see what Thomas Tuchel is trying to do and build with this current crop of players. Now that we do have a couple of games under him and we do see that they still are unbeaten under him, are you finally getting an idea of what he's trying to do?
Nope. I don't know. I don't. When he came in, Chelsea was struggling going forward, which seems crazy when you think of all the forward players they have. I won't name them because we don't have time because they've got that many. And since Tuchel's come in, yes, they've not lost, but they're not any better or any different going forward. Still changes. You know, Frank was criticised for making too many changes and not getting a settled front line in particular. Tuchel's done it. Again today, he's produced a front line that I don't think's played together before. So, you know, there's no settled forward line. Let's put it that way, because defensively and in the middle of the park, I think they do well. I think they get the ball forward pretty quickly. But going forward, as far as the front three, pretty much zero. And that's a problem. But they're picking points up. They're only 1 point behind fourth spot, so you can't really complain. And I guess you can't complain considering there has to be more to come from this Chelsea front line. So that's the good news for Chelsea fans.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.